Hi guys, and welcome back to another Premier League prediction video. Now last time out we got 2 scores correct, 2 big relegation battles. Maybe I'm being harsh on Villa, but I don't care. I don't think they're safe, not yet. However, they do have Emery, so they probably are. But Wolves drew 1-1 against Aston Villa. And Nottingham Forest managed to beat Southampton 1-0. Both of those correct. Very, very happy with that. And there's some big games coming up in these fixtures. Now, before we get into the video, make sure to hit that like button. Let's try and get 5 likes on this one. Subscribe to the channel if you are new as well. It might be that this is the first time you're seeing me. I did have a goal of 1,000 subscribers by the end of the season. That was unrealistic. I've readjusted my expectations. It would be lovely to get to 250. If you can help out and make that happen, you might be the first time you're seeing me and you have enjoyed this video, but you don't know whether to subscribe yet. Well, there will be more content coming up very shortly, so make sure that you hit that button. Let's get in to the predictions. And we start off with Villa against Leeds. Leeds have drawn 2 in a row. Villa beat Tottenham and then drew with Wolves. How do I see this one going? Who do I fancy a bit more for the win? Neither of them really. I'll go down the middle. 1-1. Man United against Man City. This could be a massive game because a win for Man United would take them within a point of City. And I really don't think a win for Man United is off the cards. They've been brilliant this season. Ten Hag is doing a fantastic job. And if you look at their current form, all you'll really see is a W. They will not stop winning. And if you drill into the games, you will also see goal for Rashford. Rashford goal constantly because he's just in scintillating form, can't stop scoring. United can't stop winning. Will that end here? I'm not sure because Man City, they did draw against Everton a week or 2 ago and they also got knocked out of the Carabao Cup by Southampton. Massive shock, really wasn't expecting it. But the problem with City at the moment seems to be creativity. And you may think, well, they've got loads of world-class players that could create. But their wingers keep cutting back and passing back. They've all got Jack Grealish syndrome at the moment. And the only player who can really do anything is De Bruyne in terms of creativity. And it's that same ball, De Bruyne to Haaland, goal. When they're not playing, they obviously struggle. And when De Bruyne gets a little bit isolated, they also seem to struggle. So I would not rule anything off the cards here. If I fancied anyone for the win, I would back Man United a little bit more than Man City, which may come as a surprise. However, I'm going to go down the middle because I think it's more likely and exciting 2-2 draw. Massive, exciting game here. Brighton against Liverpool. Wouldn't expect them to be so close, but it's 8th against 7th. And if Brighton were to get a win here, they'd go above Liverpool. That's how good they've been. That's how poor Liverpool have been. Well, more that they've dropped their usual standard. Now, Brighton, coming off the back of a couple of very good results, a 4-1 win in the league over Everton, and a 5-1 win in the FA Cup against a very in-form Middlesbrough side. They're full of goals at the moment, and I think they could have a few here as well. Liverpool they were in okay form, but their last 2 fixtures, a 3-1 loss in the league against Brentford, and that 2-2 draw in the FA Cup against Wolves that should never have been a draw. Liverpool shouldn't have a chance at a replay because VAR had a major failure. So I feel for Wolves fans in that respect. Liverpool got off lucky, which you could say on a few occasions, but that's just, they have to live with it. Liverpool get another chance to try and put in a half decent performance compared to what they did do. This game may surprise you, but I'm going to go for the home side Brighton to get all 3 points, 2-1. Next up, the East Midlands derby. Forest take on Leicester. Now, if you remember the reverse of this fixture, Leicester were in very poor form, bottom of the table, and I don't think they'd won a game yet. And then they beat Nottingham Forest 4-0. It kind of kick-started their season. Not that they've pushed on much, but it did get them out of that relegation zone. And, you know, that they've been okay, kind of. Nottingham Forest have been in the relegation zone for a long time, but like Leicester, are now sitting 2 points above it. And they've been in a bit of better form recently. A draw against Chelsea, then a very, very important win over Southampton. Also, in the Carabao Cup, they got through to the semi-final, beating Wolves on penalties. This Forest side are starting to gel, I feel, and they've got a bit about them. And I've got a feeling that could translate in this game. So Nottingham Forest to get the win over a Leicester side that have lost 3 in a row. Forest to win it, 1-0. Next up, a potential relegation battle. 2 sides sitting 17th and 19th. However, I think they've got enough to be safe this season. It's Wolves against West Ham. Now, Wolves are in better form now that Julian Lopetegui has taken over. They beat Everton 2-1, lost to Man United, only 1-0, so they were kind of in that one. And then they drew with Aston Villa. They also lost, but on penalties, in the quarter-final of the Carabao Cup against Forest. And probably, well, I think easily their best performance of the season so far. A 2-2 draw against Liverpool in the FA Cup. A game that they should have won if VAR didn't make the mistakes that it did. But at least the performance was there. It wasn't for any points. I know they'd like to go further in the Cup and progress, but the performance was there. They proved that they were capable. And that was enough for me to think that they won't be here come the end of the season. West Ham lost 5 in a row. Then they drew 2-2 with Leeds. I think David Moyes may be living on the edge a little bit. And maybe a loss here will lose his job. I'm not too sure how the West Ham board feel because they've been overperforming for seasons under him. He's been very good, but the results aren't great. They are very close to that relegation zone. If they dip into it, maybe he will go. And I've got a feeling that Wolves' kind of rejuvenated form will lead to a victory here. So I'm going to go Wolves to win it, 2-1. And if you thought Wolves v West Ham was a bit of a relegation battle, well, next up, we've got Everton against Southampton. And these two sides are facing a pretty big probability, I think, of losing their Premier League status. I don't feel like either of those sides will survive. Southampton are giving it a go. They've got quite a young side. They have shown on their day that they can come up with a very good performance. Take their Carabao Cup quarter-final victory over Man City. They beat them 2-0 in midweek to get through to the semi-final. But, on the other hand, in the league, they've lost 6 games in a row. Everton haven't won in their last 6 games either, so they're really struggling. But with Everton, they feel a little bit more stale, bit stagnant, aging a little bit. You know, there's no excitement there. Whereas Southampton, there are a few players that you think, oh, you know, Sekumara scored a brilliant goal. Gineppo scored a really good goal. They've got Romeo Lavia in midfield. Ward-Prowse has proven that he's a very good player over time. So there are some players there that really, can lift that team up. Which kind of makes me feel like Southampton could get a victory here. So I will go for the Saints to win it 2-1. Brentford take on Bournemouth. And Brentford are in very good form. In fact, they're in the top half. And I don't see them having any, struggles this season with relegation. Now, they are unbeaten in 6. They've won 2 in a row. And in those 6 games, there's a win against Man City, 2-1. A 3-1 win against Liverpool. And a 2-2 draw against Spurs. So they really are taking it to the big 6. Bournemouth, on the other hand, they've lost 6 of their last 7. They did win the other one against Everton. And they also, in that period, won a game in the Cup against Everton. Which kind of shows you that Everton are in a bit of a sticky predicament. For this one, I don't see Bournemouth getting anything. I think Brentford will win it comfortably, 2-0. Next up, Chelsea take on Palace. Now, it's been a massive season for Chelsea, really. A lot's changed. Abramovich, no longer the owner. Thomas Tuchel didn't really see eye to eye with Todd Bowley's ideas, so he was also out the door. Graham Potter was appointed. There was a lot of excitement there, and he's a brilliant manager. But you also kind of looked at Chelsea's squad and thought, probably the weakest, if not the second weakest out of the big 6. So you weren't expecting too much, but you were expecting a solid defence and some good results. That hasn't happened, and it's mainly because Chelsea's missing 11 is better than their starting 11. They've got so many key injuries, and João Felix, they just signed him on loan from Atletico Madrid for the rest of the season. He had a brilliant first half. He was really creative. He looked really exciting. Chelsea have been very poor on a creative front, and Felix looked like he could solve that. But he got sent off in the second half, straight red. He's missing for 3 games, so you can add him straight into that missing 11. They are struggling at the moment, but one thing I will say is I think Potter does deserve some time. Now, we know being in the Premier League and being the Chelsea manager, neither of those things warrant a lot of time. But Potter has proven he can do well, even at Chelsea, because when he first went there, they didn't lose for quite a while. There were a lot of wins. They did the double over AC Milan in the Champions League. Some very, very good results when the full squad, or pretty much the full squad, was there. So it's unfortunate for Chelsea that they're struggling so much, that they've got so many injuries, but I think you give Potter time, and I think by the time they've got their starting 11 back, they will start winning more games. However, 4 losses in their last 6 league games does not read very well. Luckily for them, Crystal Palace also seem to be struggling. Now, they did win their last away game against Bournemouth, but with all due respect, it's Bournemouth. A lot of teams are beating Bournemouth very comfortably at the moment. So, yes, it's a win, but it's not like they've gone and taken a major scalp. This one, I'm going to give Chelsea the benefit of the doubt, mainly because Palace are also not in great form, and go down the middle, which seems harsh, but down the middle, 1-1. Newcastle take on Fulham, and both these sides are flying. Now, you would have expected Newcastle to be in the top half, but probably not sitting third, only losing 1 game so far, and that was against Liverpool a very long time ago. And I'm pretty sure, you can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but Newcastle currently have the longest running unbeaten run in Europe's top 5 leagues. I'm pretty sure that's correct, which is just testament to the brilliant job that Eddie Howe has done so far. They did draw their last game 0-0 against Arsenal, a massive point that you definitely take if you're Newcastle, and they're sitting third. So they really are Champions League contenders. Fulham, on the other hand, are probably an even bigger surprise. Up in 6th at the moment, they have won 4 in a row. Beat Chelsea in their last game 2-1 with Willian on the score sheet, which he didn't celebrate. You just saw him on the team sheet and thought Willian could score here because Chelsea are in such bad form. But Fulham are really doing well, and I like to see a team that comes up that normally struggles in the Premier League to actually give it a go, carry on that momentum from the Championship, and just take the league by storm. And that really is what Fulham are doing. So well done to them at the moment. And if you actually look at their last 8 fixtures, the only 2 that they've lost have both been 2-1 against Man City and Man United. So that kind of shows that Fulham are beating everyone else that they play. All the teams that would normally be in and around them in a relegation battle, they're discarding of quite comfortably. For this one, do I see Fulham going and getting a win? There's potential, but not really, because Newcastle are so hard to beat. Wouldn't be surprised if it was a draw, however, but Newcastle do have Alan St-Maximin and Alexander Isak both to come back from injury, and I think they are starting to come back now. Pretty sure they featured in their last cup game. So with that information, I'm going to go for Newcastle to just keep the pressure on the top 2 with a 2-1 victory. And the final game is the North London derby, Spurs against Arsenal. Now Spurs are in not the greatest form. They lost 2-0 to Villa, but just in time for their biggest game of the season, they get a 4-0 victory over Palace, back to goal scoring ways. They didn't look like scoring against Villa. They haven't looked great in attack or defence recently, but that victory over Palace should give them a bit of confidence going into this game. Arsenal are in brilliant form still. They're still top of the league. They're still scoring a lot of goals. However, their last game, which they will definitely take, was a 0-0 against Newcastle. Very good result because Newcastle are very hard to beat. And in fact, these two sides have lost the least games in the league, Arsenal and Newcastle. So, for Arsenal and Newcastle to draw with each other, it's a pretty good result. And it means they've both only lost one game this season. Now, Arsenal just look really good. I'm still not convinced by Spurs at the moment. I think that 4-0 win over Palace, maybe all their goals have came in that game and they're going to struggle here. And I think Arsenal will just edge this one, although it can go any way because it's a North London derby. But I will stick with Arsenal to win this one and carry on that brilliant form, extending their lead at the top of the table. Arsenal to win 1-0. So, those are my predictions for these upcoming Premier League fixtures. Make sure to smash that like button. Remember, a target of 5 likes. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you're new to the channel and it's the first time seeing me, just give it a chance. Why not? There is content coming your way. Premier League predictions. FIFA will be back very, very soon. In fact, I have recorded one episode. Will be out this weekend. And if there's any suggestions of any games that you'd like to see me play, whether it be a Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 campaign or a Football Manager series, but I don't really want to do a Birmingham City Football Manager series. I'd rather do a challenge like, let's try and get Arsenal to win the league. like they're currently on track to do. Let's get Man United winning a trophy. Something like that. Something a bit more short term. Not gonna be a massive series, because my last Football Manager series was like 60 odd episodes. They were like 40 minutes each. It was a lot of time. I want something a bit quicker, like a quick little series and challenge. So if you can think of anything, then let me know. Hopefully this weekend's fixtures are brilliant. You know, there's some great fixtures. The games, will they be as good as they look? Let's hope so. And get your predictions down in the comments. If you don't want to do all the games, I'll pick the big three out for you. The ones that I think are the big three. Which is Spurs against Arsenal, Man United against Man City, and the relegation battle, Everton against Southampton. Go for those three, and I'll see how you get on. Let's hope we can get some more correct scores this weekend.